old black magic has me in its spell. That old black magic that you weave so well. Those icy fingers up and down my spine. Same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine. Should we start recording?
Let's do it.
Hi, friends.
Hello, puppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make Costume Codex videos on YouTube.
And I'm Jack Kramme, editor / right-hand man for Passion of the Nerd, editor for Chipperish Media, and co-host of Podcast of the Nerds.
And my name is Josh Gosdin, and I never really worry about anything.
And you have a new mic.
I do. I got an upgrade.
And that's enough.
This is your tax dollars at work, patrons. This enhanced video quality, this improved sound, you made this possible, so thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, patrons.
And today we're here to talk about That Old Black Magic. That Old Black Magic was written by Richard Manning, who is one of the regular writers and producers of Farscape. This isn't one of his best, but he does a lot of great work for the show. And it's directed by Brendan Maher. This is his one time in the director's chair. Zahn is shopping, and our blue-skinned girl meets a hot pink flamingo guy, and there's some vibes. Just as she's getting her flirt on, there's a problem. John has wandered off and met a reject from the local pantomime. Obvious trap is obvious, but John falls for it anyway and gets zapped out of his body and into some kind of mental virtual reality world. The others find his unconscious body, and Flamingo Fabio tells them this planet is in the grips of
an evil sorcerer whose name is Moldus.
They are all doomed unless someone happens to be, maybe a very strong priestess who he could train to defeat the malevolent Moldus. You wouldn't happen to have anyone like that in your party, would you? Meanwhile, John is talking to a new incarnation of the Panto Reject, the totally harmless old man, TM, who offers him a chance to talk to Crais man to man and sort this whole killed your brother revenge oath thing out. This sounds suspect, but John goes with it. Just go with it seems to be his motto now. Cut to Crais' command carrier, where second-in-command Lieutenant Teague informs him that there is a message for both of them from High Command.
Cease your pursuit of the escaped Leviathan transport.
Just when he's trying to think of a way to stall them, it's his turn to be bodyjacked and have a chat with totally harmless old man Teague. He offers Crais a way to kill Crichton, and there's totally no catch for him either. None at all. Back on the planet, Zahn is debating whether to access her dark side and fight, or resist that part of herself she has worked to overcome, and maybe just let Moldus have his way with everyone. Aaron and Dargo try to fight, even as every sign says it's hopeless, and a sick Rigel is stuck on the ship and is tasked with watching over Crichton. Back to John, as Moldus reveals himself fully. He is discount Q.
Moi?
All the camp you could want, now with 90% less charisma. But he's got a very snazzy costume. And what he really wants is John and Crais to fight. Crais and John do a kind of Looney Tunes impression for a while as John does everything to dodge Crais' mad rage. He tries to talk, but Crais ain't listening. The moment he even softens a little bit, Moldus decides to play evil therapist and taunt Crais with memories of his past, as a child soldier whose father made him swear to protect his little brother. Moldus has to twist the knife just a little bit more by showing an image of the brother's desiccated corpse. There's no chance of Crais listening to John now. Elsewhere, Zahn has made her choice and begun training with sexy hot pink Yoda, tapping into her ability to cause pain. John has sussed out Moldus' deal.
Hey, you're a vampire.
He tries to convince Crais to chill so they can get out of here, but no dice. And eventually John gives in and almost kills Crais. Except that'd be less fun for knockoff Nosferatu, so he whisks Crais back to his ship.
One of you has returned to his ship, and now the other has to die.
But Zahn is there in the clinch, and together they disperse him. And John wakes up back in his body, so relieved he gives Rigel a big soppy kiss.
Come here, Toto.
Crais is not so relieved, but he's glad Teague didn't go through with Command's orders to kill him while he slept. Instead of a soppy wet kiss, he gives her a broken neck. Peacekeepers are great at rewarding loyalty. Anyway, no one else knows he was ordered home. Time to double down.
Crichton, I will find you.
Zahn is feeling unsettled after her actions, and Aaron accidentally pours salt on her wounds.
You are more of a warrior than I ever thought.
You could not have cut her more deeply.
This episode... my feelings are very complicated about this episode. I think I will sum it up by saying that objectively, I liked it, but subjectively, I feel complicated, and there's some things I outright hated.
Okay.
Josh?
We'll get into it.
I also have complicated feelings about this episode. I had a lot more fun analyzing it and picking it apart than I necessarily did watching it. But I didn't not have fun watching it because of any of the like production values or even because of any of the writing quality. I was very frustrated with our characters in this episode. And I was telling Jack this before we started recording, Sara, but this episode has revived in me a habit that I developed over on the Passion of the Nerd. I have a table of sticky notes next to me that I'll be referencing as we go forward.
We might show a picture of that on the Twitter.
Feel free.
Okay, my thoughts. I like some of the things that this episode does. I like some of the scene work. I like some of the character development. But the way we get there just... I don't know. And you guys, I love camp. Everyone knows how much I love camp. I've watched every season of RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm a big fan of camp. Maldus is too camp for me.
Really?
Okay.
This is the line.
This is the line.
We've reached your limit. Okay. All right. Good to know.
I mean, I don't know if it's the directing or the acting or some combination thereof. It does feel to me like this is what would happen if you didn't get Q right.
Okay. See, Maldus was one element that I actually kind of liked. I don't know.
Same.
I
would go so
he's
far as
very,
to call
like,
him one of my favorite elements in the episode.
Yeah, like you've referenced in the summaries, Sara, that is very, very much like Q from Star Trek, and that's straight up, yeah. Like I've got that in my notes. Except he's much more malevolent, I guess. Q almost has this sort of Loki-esque trickster air about him, whereas like Maldus is just straight up sadistic. But I kind of liked his costuming. It's very Elizabethan, and I don't know.
I like the costuming.
I kind of dug it, and I liked his eyes. I don't know. It was one element I did enjoy.
When Crichton goes, "You're a vampire," I just kept going back to Diet and Jealous in the first season Angel episode, Eternity, when he kind of skips down the stairs and goes, "No, I'm a vampire."
Okay, so character development time.
So John, in this episode, was probably the character of our main group that I was the least frustrated with.
Same.
It's very understandable to me. In as much as I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, don't play Maldus's game. You are completely correct. Like, this is absolutely the way to go. It is also very understandable to me that he got a case of and I feel like I can use this term because my therapist has used it, so it's an official medical term. He got a case of the fuckets, and very much like Maldus just frustrated him to the edge of madness, which is relatable and like I said, one of the least frustrating character bits in this episode. But still, at the very end, when he was like, "All right, you know what? Fine. You want some gladiator?" I kept waiting for the twist of him to try like one last time and like throw down his sword one last time and stuff like that, and it never came. He and in fact, when Maldus sends Crais back to the command carrier, when I was watching it, John's arm gesture to me looked like he was in the middle of snapping Crais's neck when Crais vanished.
Yeah, and
Like
something
John
about
almost
that
killed this man.
Yeah, and something about that feels borderline character breaking for me, like close. Not all the way there, but close. It just I don't know, like up until this point we've seen him try to resolve conflicts without violence. You know, with the bugs and in PK Tech Girl he did something similar, you know, like and so it just seems so weird to me that he snapped in like pure rage. Like you see it in his face and in his eyes. Like Ben Browder like nailed it and went for it. But I don't know, something about it just felt character breaking to me.
He did try to be.
He did try, absolutely.
Yeah,
which is why to me it's the least frustrating. And there was
yeah,
you know, there's a I guess a storytelling conceit of like. We don't really, I think, have a clear picture of the mechanics of what happened in this episode. We only have a couple of characters and their oblique references and stuff like that. So if it was John's soul that we were witnessing, if it was like John's brain, like if we were inside some kind of like a mental construct amongst everybody, whatever, that's an intensely like intimate place for your torturer to be. Mm-hmm. You know, and so for Maldus to literally be in John's head for we don't really know how much time John experienced either. Mm-hmm. It's understandable that John would have a breaking point.
Sure, yeah. I guess I just feel though for the character's moral compass, I just think they took it too far, which I think they did with Zahn as well, just way too far.
Listen, we'll get to Zahn.
Yeah,
I agree, and I think that could have been mitigated a little bit if. I guess for me, the most head snapping, character part for John was that it ended on him kind of like sadly lamenting that he's like, I couldn't get to Crais, but he wasn't really like remorseful about his own actions or anything like that. And that was that felt character breaking.
Yeah, I feel like perhaps they should have sent Crais back to his ship like 5 seconds earlier before Crichton was about to snap his neck, because to me that's a step too far for me. I think, I don't know. It's weird because
I don't mind it as a writing choice. I don't like it as a character choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, spot on.
I think it felt a little like we missed some steps to getting him there. Like I find it interesting to get him there. And like the conceit of this episode, sure. You know, he wants to try and talk. He's convinced that just talking it out will solve it. I mean, and we always have the thing with the problem with false conflict is conflicts that if you could just explain shit, then it wouldn't be a conflict. Right. And he's kind of hoping that that's what this is. Like, if I can just sit down and talk with Crais, something about the fight didn't quite get to that being him having no other choice, which I think is what we were meant to be seeing as him having no other choice. And I think, you know, he, considering that fight the stakes weren't really any higher than any of the other fights that they had while in the mind space, and it didn't quite get there. But, you know, I liked him being put in that position. Like I said, I like the scenes. I like what this episode does for our characters. I just kind of, it just kind of like narratively, I'm like, how did we get here? A wizard?
Perhaps.
Just magic?
Well, you're a wizard, Harry.
I think that's interesting. Then your point about like narratively, how did we get here? I think is illustrated in the fact that you and I had two different interpretations of what John did at the end. When you said that we were meant to think that it was that he had no choice, I didn't get that. I felt like we were meant to think that this was John. John got broken and like was pushed to the edge and made a bad choice. Like he was he gave up basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so like again, I don't fault a person for that. Like a kind of like horrifying torture. But I also feel like I agree with you that we got to the two different places that you and I feel like we wound up and missteps in them, you know?
Yeah. For me, it goes back to the adage, you know, you have a choice, you don't have a good choice, but you have a choice, you know? So,
yeah.
But if your choice is between you dying and the person dying...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that's the thing. Mulder's made it very clear that one of them had to die, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so complicated.
But Zahn called out the subversion that could have existed earlier in the episode when she was like, you know, I'm trying to see something between allowing a great evil to perpetuate and you know, me doing evil, you know, or whatever her line was with Dargo, and then she goes, and I'm waiting for the third choice, and then she goes, and there isn't one, you know, and I'm like, whoa, can we all... Are you sure?
we got to there isn't one awfully quick.
We really did, and that, like, so did John, you know, like it... Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm interested in the story of, you know, not... you know, reaching the point where you don't have where the third option isn't there, no matter how hard you look for it.
Same, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just
this wasn't
we just jumped there.
Yeah. And it's strange for me because I usually love this stuff too. I love, like characters being pushed to their breaking point and characters that we think are good having revealed to have a dark past. Like I typically love that stuff. Like I really do, like that off kilter, morally complicated stuff. But this just, I don't know, it just wasn't done well here, I don't think. And I feel like this should have been a story stretched over two or three episodes, because then it could have been fleshed out better.
We will get more of that sort of story.
Okay.
Done better. And I think the thing with this episode is, I think when you're trying to create something, sometimes you take big swings, and sometimes it lands, and sometimes it kind of doesn't. And this is what I call what I think of as a cookie dough episode. It's like there are good bits, but it's not done baking.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate how ambitious this was, especially so early in the show. Like, they went for it, and you know, but I think from like a filmmaking standpoint and like technique and everything, I think this was a brilliant episode.
Same.
Her performances too, like it was all really good. It was just some of the writing just seemed broken to me.
All three of us have a different opinion on a different facet of the thing. I like that. I like this about us. I like it when we do this. I completely agree with you about the production quality of the episode. I loved the set that were Maldus's maze or whatever you want to call it.
That was great.
His labyrinth. I loved that set. And I loved that there was a chessboard, and we'll get there. But I'm not frustrated with the writing. I'm frustrated with the characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's character
which
writing.
I realize is splitting a Doylist or a Watsonian hair, but I don't mind these writing choices. I mind the characters making these choices. You know,
right?
I'm frustrated. I'm like, come on, John.
I see what you're saying, and I agree. Yeah.
And that is a writing thing. To like, it depends on whether you're feeling frustrated, but it makes sense, or if you're kind of like, I'm not sure they do this, and I'm like, my thing, I'm kind of like, okay, clearly this is a trap. I know you've hit fuck it, John, but have you hit fuck it this bad that you're like, oh yes, I will take a deal with the harmless old man? I didn't feel like he'd hit fuck it quite that hard.
I think you hit.
Then we're back to the bug episode where they're all getting these metal splinters, and they're like, "Huh, that's weird," and then they don't do anything about it, you know. And like, your point of John is new to this universe, and so everything is wild to him. Like, John is new to this universe, and so if a dancing jester hits him up in the street and is like, you know, you got bone in the back of a minivan. And he's like, how can you know what a minivan is? You know, like
that stuff is cool.
4x4.
Yeah, it was a 4x4. And he goes,
I quite enjoyed that. That
awesome.
was very Q-esque as well, I think.
But that would probably work on me, or that would probably work on the average person.
I don't know, because John has seen Star Trek. I would think John would be like, okay, Q,
valid.
fuck off.
That's fair.
By the way, can I get some clarification on something? So when Mulders is showing us himself as Haloth, is that something like that? The old man, does he tickle Crichton's groin?
Yes, he absolutely does.
I was wondering if that was just in my head or if I misinterpreted that, but he tickled his groin.
This is Farscape. You don't need to ask.
I'm getting used to it now. Finally. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head just then, Sarah, when you said that it's yeah, no, the characters are making these choices that don't feel like them. It doesn't feel like what we know of them up to this point. They seem to be going against whom they are, and that's why it feels broken, I think.
Except I think that Aaron, Dargo, and Rigel are being totally themselves.
Oh yeah.
They don't have a lot to do in this episode, but we've got Aaron and Dargo choosing to fight even if it seems hopeless.
Yeah.
And just let's see if we can get a bigger gun. And Rigel being uber selfish and not even wanting John in the same heaven.
That was awesome. I like that. Find your own hallowed realm.
That is one of my favorite Rigel scenes from the first season.
I do love how Erin's immediate instinct is to rescue John, and she even seems to want to help the people to overthrow Mulders, which is great. I'm like, yes, my girl. Woo!
Me too. I was with Erin this episode where the whole time where she just kept being like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And everybody was like, quiet, you. And she's like, okay. You know, and when they're shooting at the door and Dargo goes, it's guarded by a magic spell. And I was like, or a force field.
Well, any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. I think this episode does establish for us that there is some other, some science we don't understand.
Yeah.
Something that is indistinguishable from magic, or perhaps just straight up magic.
Maybe. I'm not ready to make that concession, but we'll get there when we talk about Zahn.
Yeah. There are things that there are physics that maybe aren't physics in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so you wanted to know more about Crais. You guys are saying he felt like he was a presence the whole time in the series, and yes, Josh, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah.
Before you explode.
Are we flipping the format this episode? Everything is backwards this episode. Okay. So, oh yeah, like getting some Crais meat was fantastic.
Mm.
And I loved how strung out he looked when he was on the command carrier. When the crew cut guy is like, you can't send the Marauders out this quickly, and Crais is like, it's dangerous to disobey my orders, and he looked like he was just as sleep deprived as the guy was describing the Marauders were. Like he looked like he was just as just wiped out. And I love that detail because it kind of obliquely answers the question, what the hell has he been doing this whole time? He has been losing his mind this entire time,
What there was of it to begin with.
Sure. What, and we don't get, I don't think we got that much of that in this episode, but yeah, I'm sure there was, a bit of a thread to begin with. And then his just his machinations on the carrier with his lieutenant, who's obviously kind of into him, and he like caresses her cheek, and then oh wow, I did that to myself just now, and then that balanced against the fire pit scene, which was just music.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
God. I'm gonna marinate in that thought, Jack. You say things.
So in the beginning, I thought, and I guess I kind of hoped that Crais was going to have some sort of crisis of faith, but then I realized we're way too early in the show for that. He's the main villain, and if that is going to happen, it's not going to happen in season 1. But I thought that at the very least he'd sort of be able to see through Maldus's messing with him, and I did think maybe that'd And I thought maybe that'd help him sort of see the light, so to speak, and at the very least help him to see that like Crichton didn't kill his brother, like it wasn't his fault. But yeah, I mean, I suppose we're too early in the season for that. But Josh, that scene back on the carrier where he snaps the lieutenant's neck, like I was genuinely stunned, like
me too,
I mean, it's not that I liked it, but I liked that it shocked me and took me by surprise. I like being stunned like that. But yeah, holy crap, yeah.
I thought we were meeting like a henchman or something like that. No, it was just another peacekeeper victim.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I did overall. I did love how this sort of humanized Crais. We get to see him more as a person rather than this like sort of Darth Vader sort of one-dimensional villain. Not that Darth Vader is one-dimensional. Please don't come after me, Star Wars fans, because I know you people have. Yeah. But yeah, that scene where Maldus is showing him, his father, and then his brother's burnt corpse. That was that's brutal. But I loved it because of how brutal and awful it was. Like, because I mean, I'm a horror fan, so I mean, come on. It's not that I liked it, but I liked that I didn't like it or something. I don't know.
It was well done. It was good.
I very well done, and it was very that whole sequence was very. I mean, it's something we've seen a lot in many other things, but I think it's still done very very well here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extremely well executed torture.
Yeah. Sara, what about you? What did you feel about Crais and the whole thing?
I really like Crais. His sanity is clearly snapped. Which well, yeah, he's totally sane. And I like we get a very manic performance from Lani Tupu that I really like. And I like that it's not totally one note. There is a lot of ups and downs. I'm struggling as to what I can say without spoiling anything. But yes, I really love that we get this. And he is such a complicated character. And the idea of him being a child soldier too. Taken from his family, like it sort of does make you understand why he is so devoted to this memory of his brother, that even when he recognizes that no, Crichton didn't deliberately kill him, he doesn't give a shit. He just wants him dead.
Yeah, it's like Tony Stark saying to Cap, like, I don't care. In Civil War, I think it is. He says he doesn't remember when Tony's trying to get Bucky, and he's like, I don't care. He killed my parents. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. I also agree. Sorry, what's his name? Lani Tupu.
Lani Tupu.
Lani Tupu.
His performance was so captivating. Like, holy shit. I also loved that we learned that Crais is sort of a medium-sized fish in a much bigger peacekeeper pond. That was also very interesting to know.
It's interesting. So much is interesting about Crais at this point for me. The memory you mentioned, the memory of his brother. I was also captivated by the memory of his father. Yeah. Which is at this point, as far as we know, all he has.
Yeah.
Like his last impression of his father was seen through his 10-year-old eyes, you know, and that's tragic. And I loved the fire pit scene because of just how like empathetic John became when he was watching Crais be tortured. Like when you know, when Maldus was producing all these illusions and everything, and John was like, stop it. Like John was like defending Crais. I was like, my heart, you know, and it was I loved it. It was fantastic. And you know, yeah, the revelation that, like, we kind of got hints of it with Aaron. Like, does anybody on that carrier in the Peacekeepers have a choice about where they are? And it doesn't seem like they do at this point. You know, we've got Aaron, we've got Crais, we've got Jelena from the last episode, like, all forcibly inducted, it seems, and just tragic as heck, you know, and yeah, I just love that scene so much. It was just so good.
It was brilliant, amazing.
And you remember too that he's, you know, he's a Sebation, and it's at a fire pit. Like, this is.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he jumps through the like as yeah.
Crichton even mentions that. He says something about the heat, doesn't he?
He goes, "Oh yeah, you Sebastians don't like heat, do you?"
Yeah.
Maldus was a very good villain. Maldus knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
The way that scene plays to me, Maldus started the fire. So
Maldus controlled everything.
And he waited until Crichton had the torch over the pit, so that it could look like maybe it was Crichton's fault. But Maldus was absolutely wanting to, like, just completely break Crais down. And so I make up that Crais probably spent the next couple of scenes suffering from Sebation heat fever, which we know impairs Sebation's faculties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which He's not in his right mind for most of the second half of the episode.
Right. Yeah, that explains why he was so manic towards the end.
He is kind of an evil genius.
Well, my hat's off to the man, or the thing.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
The malevolent being.
Wizard, sorcerer, I don't know what.
Transcended corporeal reality. I loved the part, like I said, Crais was this close to working with John. Like when he stepped away, when they were in the narrow cubes, I guess, and he
that was
pulled
such
back.
A pretty shot too. I liked that.
And so, like, it was so claustrophobic. I loved it. When he pulls back and he goes, "Maldus does not command me," I was like, "Ah!" And then, nope.
And we get the moment where we learn how willing his commanders are to, you know, just let him die.
Yeah.
Like he's out of commission. He's ill. Okay, just kill him.
Crais, though, like, I just love how I think at one point he just knows. He knows straight up that Maldus is messing with him, but he just doesn't care.
Yes,
he just
that
absolutely does not give a shit.
Because it's about, and this is, I guess, me circling back. It's about power.
Yeah,
Buffy. It's about power with Crais at this point. And if a person has been victimized from such a young age, then any power feels like freedom. And so he clings to that power, and there's a lot of power in revenge.
That's gorgeous, Josh. My God, I just want to hug you right now, you big brain. Freaking, I love you.
We have to get Crais a copy of Foucault. I can never pronounce his name right. I love Foucault, but I can never pronounce it properly. Right, the other thing I would think you both were saying last time was that you wanted to know more about Zahn. And what
but not like this.
No, not like this.
This is not what I wanted.
My poor girl, Zahn.
Not like this.
Remembering The Godfather, where it's like, look how they massacred my boy. That's sort of how I feel, except it's a girl. Like,
yes. Jack, you want to take this one?
I'll start. I'll start. Okay.
I'm here for you, buddy.
Oh, God. Okay, look. It's odd, and like I said earlier, typically I find these themes really interesting to explore in media. You know, like a good character with a dark past, even like an evil past, or like you know. And I'm a fan of things that are shocking or off-putting and disturbing. Because I enjoy being taken aback. It's fun for me, but not like this. Not like this.
You don't want to see Zahn enjoy torturing Rigel?
No. That was... Oh! Okay, I need to maintain a semblance of composure here, or else I'm just going to start ranting. Like, oh my God. Okay, look. There's something really off-putting for me, and not in a good way, again, because I like off-putting stuff, but yeah, no, we saw this a similar thing in Buffy with Dark Willow, and I enjoyed that. I thought it was really well done there. But something about the way they do it with Zahn in this episode feels character breaking. It really does. It's almost like character serving plot rather than the other way around. I don't know. Even though it was an attempt to flesh her out and whatnot, but look, I'm glad that they didn't resort to showing us her actually harming some. Well, they did with Rigel, I guess, but at least she didn't like rip off that little creature's hand or something, because that would have been I struggle with it because up until this point, she's been such a bastion of goodness and love and peace and all of those things, and you know, it is super interesting to see this side of her, like seeing more of a contrast and a complexity. But for some reason, and it's like something about the way it's done just really, really bothers me. I feel like they went way too far. Yes, we did have moments of her resisting, but at least for me, it was too easy to persuade her. Way too easy.
Yes.
The red guy didn't even have to break a sweat, you know? Like, he did it so easily. And in the end, even though it was for the greater good,
Was it?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Like, I'm saying these words, and as I'm saying them, I'm second guessing myself, because I'm just like, but I don't know. My girl Zahn, like, I'm so sorry, Zahn. I'm so sorry. Josh, why don't you take the mic, because I'm about to have a meltdown.
So here's where I shan't make such an effort to maintain composure. I shan't. So here is where I have quibbles with the writing. It felt character breaking to me in similar ways. First of all, her torturing Rigel, I found insanely in poor taste after the past episode where the writing handled Rigel's trauma with such like care and delicacy and used Zahn to do it. Like, Zahn helped him face his torture and the PTSD that resulted from that. And then in this episode, they were like, you know what you need to do? You need to torture Rigel. And Zahn was like, that's a good point. And then, you know, and I was just the whole time, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
right.
Show, what are you doing to me? Yeah. And I enjoy dark streaks running through characters. I'm not that big on anti-hero stories. I like my heroes to be heroic by and large, but I'm also having a lot more fondness for characters with tragic flaws and stuff like that. And maybe it's a product of me being in my mid-30s now, but like, I don't mind getting a backstory. I don't mind exploring. I've been wanting to explore what it means for Zahn to have been a warrior priestess, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And every episode prior to this one, her warrior fierceness came across as just this immovable confidence in herself. And in this episode, her warrior fierceness was extracted from her by her just waffling on all of her morals that she had professed up until this point. Mm-hmm. And I'm also down for characters who re-examine their morals and that kind of thing, but that isn't what Zahn is set up to be at this point. Zahn is set up to be a rock. Mm-hmm. And in this episode, she was a bunch of sand.
Yes. Like,
it was very frustrating. And it was very frustrating to me also because the entire time, like you were saying, Jack, she believed Flamingo Fabio way too easily. And I was like, you just met this guy. He is literally a perfumer. Like, he's selling scents. And he goes, oh yeah, and I was a high priest. And she goes, you were? Tell me more.
Yeah, she's almost like a schoolgirl, like twirling her hair, like, ooh.
Tell me about a big guy.
Yeah. Like,
you know, and the entire episode, I was ready for the reveal that Flamingo Fabio was Maldus in disguise or was an agent of Maldus or something like that. Because in the scene in the mind labyrinth where John was like, you're a vampire. You know, he's like, he was explaining the mechanics and Maldus was like, yeah, you're right. You can't do anything about it, son. And then it cuts over to Zahn training with Flamingo Fabio, and he's like, you know, you have to tap into all your hatred. You have to inflict pain. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
That sounds like it'll help Maldus. Aha. He's on Maldus's side, is what the writing was trying to tell me, I thought. Mm-hmm. And then we get to the end of the episode, and I was like, oh, no. He was right? He was good? What? And why, in the simple fuck, did Zahn believe him?
Yeah. Now you mentioned that, I wonder if this was like a Frankenstein script where they wrote like 3 versions of the episode and then squished parts together or something, because I don't know, it's weird.
And I'm wondering, the last hope that I'm clinging to, and sorry, I know that you can't validate or invalidate this hope, but the last hope that I'm clinging to is that Maldus, as a character, is going to return, and it's going to be revealed that at the end of this episode here, all they did was make him stronger. You know, because there's a character in The Legend of Korra, which is the sequel series to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's very good. I highly recommend it. There's a character in there who describes fighting him as just making him stronger. He says, your pain gives me fuel. Or my pain gives... When you try to fight me, you make me stronger, basically. And so I thought that's what was happening. That's what we were setting up for. And I'm hoping... Yeah. My last hope is that we pick that thread up in subsequent episodes.
Because I think having some sort of consequences will make this feel... I don't know, not better, but just feel... like it had a purpose, like in some way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. If I can circle back for a second, the thing that really bothers me with the Zahn harming Rigel thing is the line, part of me enjoyed that. I was like, oh, that's too much. Like that's going too far. Like, no, that is not cool. I didn't like that.
I also found it impossible to go along with the comedy in the next Rigel episode. Or not episode, the next Rigel scene. Like, like when he did his prayer and then he was like, I'll just take your boots now. I was just sitting on my couch, like, not giving a shit.
Right? Yeah. And can I just say quickly about Flamingo?
We're just shredding this.
It's a cookie dough. They're good pieces. It needed more baking.
Flamingo.
But Flamingo Fabio. We have another recognizable Australian actor, Grant Bowler. Okay, he was born in New Zealand, but most of his work was done here. But Australia likes to claim New Zealand actors as their own. We do it all the freaking time. Yeah.
Okay, as the Canadian who has as Americans do that all the time to us.
I was just about to say
that. How
that.
about we recognize when the New Zealand actors are New Zealand actors?
Yeah. I apologize. Well, he lives here and he's done most of his work here, but I recognize him. I'm like, his face looks familiar. I know this dude. And then I looked up. I'm like, oh, it's Grant Bowler. Cool.
Or we could use it. Is there a general term for people from Oceania? Which is
oceanic actor.
Makes him sound like he has gills.
I don't think his name is said once, is it? I'm sure they gave him a name because this show likes to do that, but I don't think it's said.
At the end of the episode, when he was dying in Zon's arms, and he looked up and he was like, "I just wish that we could have boned." I was like, "Fuck you, man! I don't care one bit."
Yeah, I mean it's like they were trying to have this emotional moment that I don't feel like they earned. The show didn't earn, like the episode didn't earn that moment.
Zon, to me, the character breaking part is that it made Zon look stupid.
Right. Yeah.
Shaman Liko. Or
Okay.
Lyko.
Shaman. Yeah, that makes sense. But also, like, when they first meet, enriches their conjugal experience. Like, this show just loves sex. This show is obsessed with sex. And look, I'm a dude. Like, that stuff doesn't normally bother me. But, well, it's not that it bothers me, but it's just like, I really know why we're called Muppet Sex and Trauma now. Because, like... And I've said this like every episode now, I think, but everybody just wants to bone at everybody else.
Hey, Zon was trying to get hers, and, Flamingo Fabio was...
I mean, there's something sexy about him. I gotta say, yeah.
That was my favorite interaction between the two of them was the perfume purchasing.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I just had this moment of, okay, yes, I get it. Lots and lots of sex, all right, I get it.
I like it because it's a very, it's a very sort of female perspective on flirting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I getcha.
It's not a conquest. There's a dance. There's a thing. Yeah. It's very much on her terms.
Yes.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like dirty or like someone was trying to like encroach on someone else.
Yeah. Would you care to enjoy it by yourself, or would you like company? I mean,
we love affirmative consent.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike it, but I'm just having this like, wow, this show really is into sex. And it's just not what I was expecting, but we're called Muppet Sex and Trauma, so why am I surprised?
So Sara, Jack and I just absolutely shredded Zon's storyline. Can you save it at all? Do you have any?
The thing is, there are elements of Zon's story that I like. Okay. I like that we're breaking down this sort of trope of the sort of all-motherness of her, to explore her darker side. And this is an episode, the Zon elements are better on rewatch, I think, because they're,
okay.
Yeah.
Once we get other things about
I was
backstory.
wondering how I would feel after a rewatch. Maybe it'll sink in differently. I don't know.
Because I do like, because my perspective on Zon, I kind of see her as, she's sort of like Angel, only we come in later in her story. She is a person who has worked hard for redemption.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's all we've seen is her sort of redeemed thing. And we haven't seen any of the cost of that.
No, and I definitely, the very last scene with that kind of followed her through the ship, when she was chatting with Aaron and Dargo, and then when she winds up hanging out with John for a second before she him, I was getting like recovering alcoholic vibes from her, like she, there's a trope in like hard-boiled detective fiction where the detective has to go all in while he's undercover or something like that, and he comes out wondering if he's, what kind of a person he is, or if he's even a good man or anything like that. And that felt like where we ended up with Zon, and that's a facet I'm intrigued with and I want to see picked up on, Mm-hmm. And it connects back to her trying to dry out the Tavlek from episode 2. Mm-hmm. But geez, man, the to borrow a phrase from a friend, the pile we had to step around to get there.
But I think partly, like, some of the things they're trying to do too early in the story.
I wonder.
So we've had too hard a switch, I think, from this sort of presentation of Zahn as the sort of all-mother to Zahn, the recovering killaholic.
It's so off to me. But I really hope that the next episode picks this up immediately, because if this is just forgotten about for a couple episodes, I'm going to lose my freaking shit, because, like, this...
We go a very different direction the next episode.
Oh, okay. Because it's just... I mean... This calls too much of Zahn into question, you know, just to drop it and not resolve this. Like, I don't know.
They're not going to drop it. This is one of the sort of bits of Farscape. Was that David Kemper, who was the showrunner and main producer, his rule was everything has consequences.
Okay, see, I like that.
Same.
That's
I'm on board with that, absolutely.
There are times when the consequences don't, like, they don't pay off on all the consequences, because sometimes so much is going on that things sort of snowball. But the idea is to in some way or another things have consequences. You know, this is still very much they're trying to figure out how to write this show.
Sure.
And they're trying to figure out how to write a show that is very different from a lot of from the sci-fi that they know at the time, because remember, so much of what was being done at the time was episodic.
Right.
So I think it's not surprising that we get a bit of a...
Look, Virginia Hay gives a great performance. She's incredible. So emotive, so freaking emotive, but this didn't feel like Zahn. Actually, I think everybody gave a great performance in this episode.
Absolutely.
They always do.
She had she squeezed out a tear when she was talking to Dargo and Aaron at the door. And Sarah, what you just said about them trying to distinguish themselves, like, you know, when this was airing, Star Trek was very much in the zeitgeist, and to me, when she walks up to them and she goes, "I'm waiting for the third choice," and there isn't one, that felt like a "this is not Star Trek" kind of a moment, which I appreciated. But again, like you were saying earlier, I don't feel like discarding the possibility of a third choice was earned at that point in the story.
Yeah.
I think if they could have had more time, if we could have had if we got to sort of rewrite. I like your idea of having Flamingo Fabio actually being Maldus. I think it would have, the most interesting thing would have been if there was a third choice, but it was more costly than, you know, like if it wasn't a good third choice.
Yes, I completely agree.
You know, we give a, you know, we somehow there's more twisty knife stuff, or there's something. Again, I think, you know, as much as we're criticizing this episode, like, it takes a lot to create something and to try something new.
100%.
And you only get to greatness by taking great swings, right?
100%.
Right.
And sometimes they're going to go a bit.
Yeah.
I love. We can talk about the things we loved if you'd like.
Let's talk about the good bits in the cookie dough.
Well, like I said, overall though, like, I think this episode was incredibly well constructed. It was well shot. Great performances, set pieces, like everything about it from a technical and aesthetic point of view was spot on. Perfect. Perhaps one of the best that we've seen so far. But yeah, things that I liked. I mean, I loved Maldus. I just did. Sorry, Sarah, but I just thought he was a lot of fun, and just like sinister. Like, Q isn't sinister. Q's more of like a bratty kid that can do whatever he wants. Kind of. I mean, I'm not. I've only seen those Q episodes a couple of times, and I'm not even sure if I've seen all of them. But
Not if you haven't seen Voyager.
Oh no. I have seen a bit of Voyager, but I haven't seen Q in Voyager. But what else? I mean, From what we saw of Dargo and Eren, I enjoyed them, but we didn't get anything from them really. So much so that I don't really have anything to say about their roles in this episode, except that I just loved that Eren was just like, fuck it, let's just go and kill him. Like, I thought that was great. But yeah, Josh, what about you, sir?
I also love the production of this episode. The Maldus's labyrinth was gorgeous. And I loved the subtle motif of the floor looking like a chessboard. Yeah. Maybe the motif wasn't that subtle, but I loved the floor looking like a chessboard. Yeah, that's all that Crais and John were in that setting, as they were just pawns. I loved Maldus. I don't know what kind of camp that is. Like, I don't know what the scale of camp is, or if there's a
very camp though.
Pie chart out there. Yeah. But when he's like, apparently I like scenery chewers. I think that's part of it. Apparently, when he was like, he had the eyes and he was
the wide eyes. That was so good.
And at one point he's like screaming at the camera, and the soundtrack is going bombastic crazy, and John and Crais are flipping around, and I'm just on my couch and I'm like, give me more.
Really dialed it in. It was great.
It was fantastic. And he was just so effective as a villain. He absolutely kicked their asses this episode. Like, he 100% won, even to the point of like tearing Zahn down. If there's any kind of like ancillary benefit to that was a big one. And then propagating the conflict between Crais and John, and he absolutely sent Crais back to the ship with like a laser target on John. Crichton, I'll get you if it's the last thing I do, or whatever.
I love how your Crais impression is like Cockney.
It got Cockneyer.
It's like Dick Van Dyke Cockney.
Did you tell anybody else about the animal?
Hello, love.
No, it definitely got Cockneyer that I meant for too. Maldus. I'm out of words.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the shaman guy for the most part. I thought it was pretty good for the most part.
The makeup on him was fabulous.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful makeup.
Yeah, just spectacular. Do we have any thoughts on the wider themes?
Okay, so I like the theme of, the most obvious theme to me was redemption and characters being confronted by their past, which the show has done before. But I like the idea of it. I just don't think it was executed that well in this episode for mostly Zahn.
I feel like a big theme. So it's Crais' love for his brother is motivating him, but that love has been twisted around, and he's been confusing that love with the need to feel powerful and to stay powerful. Zahn's love for her shipmates and for John and all that kind of stuff, definitely got twisted around in this episode as well, and was used against her. Well, I can't even say that, because apparently he was a good guy. Took her to a dark place. How about that? And the episode title, having in the past episode that we did caught on to some of the pop culture references being a little bit more relevant than they want us to think. I pulled up the lyrics to That Old Black Magic.
Oh.
And did a little bit of reading on it. But I was also thinking about when Crichton wakes up at the end and he grabs Rigel by the forehead or by the nose, and he makes the Wizard of Oz reference, and he goes, it's not Kansas, but I'm back, and he calls him Toto. It didn't. I could swear you've said this before, Sara, but it didn't really click for me just how much John's story is Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
And Crais, that makes Crais the Wicked Witch. And Crais' brother was the witch that John's house crushed.
Oh my god. Dargo's the Cowardly Lion?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my god. Wow. Okay.
Aaron, Aaron is the Tin Man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so, that makes Zahn the Scarecrow.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Wow.
Is Zahn the Scarecrow or Glinda?
Oh yeah.
I mean, before this episode, I probably was at Glinda, but now,
honestly, I don't know. I would put Rigel as the Scarecrow.
Nah, he's Toto.
Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't met Mr. Scarecrow.
He's Toto.
Oh, okay.
Well, so in this episode specifically, the three of them fit pretty well into the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion. But that also means that Maldus was the wizard. But, again, much more twisted, much more villainous. And so I was looking at that old black magic, and I have the lyrics on my sticky notes here, broken down by stanza, and each stanza gets its own character. And I can't sing. So we're going to get like a William Shatner style.
I am so here for this.
Hey, that old black magic has me in its spell.
I actually didn't know it was a song. So
it was a song written in 1942.
Oh, okay.
And it was featured heavily in a 1943 movie called Star Spangled Rhythm, which was an American World War II propaganda film, where so there's a guy and he's got a son in the Navy, and the guy wants his son to be proud of him, and so he tells his son that he is actually like a movie exec CEO when he's not at all. So he inflates his own power and his own might and everything like that. And he runs around and gets a bunch of singers of the era to put on basically a show for our fighting men. And that's like the thin plot of the movie. But the first stanza, that old black magic has me in its spell, that old black magic that you wear so well. I see fingers up and down my spine, that same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine. So that's Maldus. And then we go, the same old tingle that I feel inside when that elevator starts its ride. Baby, round and round I go, up and down I go, like a leaf that's caught in the tide. So that's John. I should stay away, but what can I do? I hear your name, and I'm a flame with such a burning desire that only your kiss, kiss, kiss can put out the fire. That's Crais.
Wow.
You're the lover I have waited for, the mate that fate had me created for, and every time your lips meet mine, baby, round and round I go, up and down. On.
Wow.
And so it actually perfectly ends with a repeated refrain. I should stay away, but what can I do? So that line gets repeated 4 times, one each from Maldus, John, Crais, and Zahn. I should stay away,
but what can I do? I hear your name.
My mind is officially blown. Wow.
A flame with such a burning desire. Sorry, I can't sing particularly well, but I do enjoy doing it.
You do sing much better than I do. The best part is that one of the first released recordings of that old black magic was sung by none other than the Wizard of Oz star herself, Judy Garland.
Wow.
I love a little Judy.
So this was, for me, the writers made a deep cut with their theme references in this episode, and I appreciated it. Like I said, this episode was more fun to read about.
Yeah, that's clever. I wasn't aware it was a song going into it, so yeah.
But yeah, it's I had a guy sing it to me once. It was rather sexy. A thing when you know actors. It doesn't mean anything, but it's fun. I think that's well done. Yeah,
it all fits perfectly, and I see what they were going for. And I always appreciate, back to your point, Sarah, about take broad swings. I always appreciate big ideas poorly executed.
Yeah, I mean, ambition is a noble thing that can always be appreciated in one way or another. I mean, I love The Room, and that is not a good film, but I love it because it is batshit crazy.
Better a great idea mediocrely executed than a mediocre idea executed perfectly.
Exactly.
That's exactly my feeling on the DCEU versus the MCU.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If I leave that in, we'll get some comments.
Bring it on!
They don't call it Discord for nothing.
I love you, Joshua.
Also, Aaron and Dargo were great this episode, but they were also kind of dumb because they were standing at the door and they were like, the door won't open. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, she thought about blowing the weapon up.
Well, that's the thing.
But like at the door, like maybe the building had additional surfaces, like a wall, perhaps, or a ceiling.
Or other doors.
And they have what you might call a spaceship, so they could have flown above it, potentially. But no, they were just standing at the door and they're like, well, I guess that's it.
And it was kind of funny or strange seeing Dargo being more reasonable than Aaron, like, because he's usually like the hothead that just wants to barge through everything, but I felt like he was the more rational one in this episode.
Well, except for his whole evil spell comment, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, what did you think of his scene with when Zahn sought out his advice?
I can't remember that. I'm sorry.
I really liked that.
I thought it was a nice sort of build on their dynamic.
It really was. Like I hated the meal that it was serving, but I liked how it was served.
And then his observation to Aaron about their interaction, shows how well he knows Zahn. He couldn't have wounded her more.
Yeah.
And Aaron is trying. Aaron sees someone in pain and she tries to help. It just goes swinging a bit.
She wants to help, but she just doesn't know how to do that. It's like the emotional connections are still separated a little bit,
That is someone taking a swing and missing. Taking big swings. I mean, she wanted to. She tried to help her the way that she would want to be helped. She would want to be told what a good job she'd done fighting.
But even that got undercut by some portion of the production of this episode, where he goes, "You could not have wounded her more deeply if you tried." And then Dargo walks off camera, and then the camera turns to Aaron, and for a second she's just kind of like looking, and then she literally does this and walks away. Like she gets like a all right, whatever expression on her face and walks away, and I was like, what? Anyways.
I laughed at I kind of enjoyed that line.
I didn't mind her saying that she kind of enjoyed it in like a okay, that's interesting character beat, I guess. I hated like
I agree it was interesting, but it just didn't feel right still to me.
It'd be like if somebody was getting bullied or getting picked on or something like that, and somebody came up to them and it was like, you can stop them if you crush this turtle with your shoe. That'll help you beat the bully. Like, how does torturing people help you, like, overthrow a malevolent entity? And I don't know.
Yeah.
But speaking of Rigel, I did giggle when he just gives up on Crichton and starts reading his burial rites and just declares him dead so he can take his possessions. That was quite funny.
I like that.
Yeah. Get your own sacred realm.
That was great.
So we should probably move on from this episode.
For the good of our podcast.
Yeah, and our sanity.
So before we get to favorite parts, I want to tell you guys a little bit, and our audience a little bit, about the next episode. One called DNA Mad Scientist. It can be a bit of a difficult watch, particularly as there is body horror in this one. Like, particularly if you have any eye, like, sensitivity, if eye stuff freaks you out, I suggest you close your eyes for the first 10 seconds of the, like, give it a count of to 10 when you start this episode.
The horror fan in me is like, oh, cool.
It's also, there's also some stuff that's going to be very interesting to go into emotionally, with some long-lasting consequences for the series. So if you can, folks out there, I suggest watching the whole thing, apart from the very first 10 seconds. But if you know about, I will do my best I may go deeper into the summary to make sure if anyone can't handle it, that they still get everything that is relevant to the plot. And we will be joined next episode by our friend Ren.
Ren?
Yeah, they will be joining us to talk about this episode, which is a favorite of theirs.
Awesome.
Now, is that Ren the Barbarian, the YouTuber who does the great Star Trek videos?
Should we do that routine again, dear? Yes, that is Ren the Barbarian. Who will be?
Awesome.
They will be joining us next time. So, favorite part?
Crais in the fire pit, hands down. So it's such a creative, interesting scene. All three actors nailed it. It was just like I said before, it's something that's been done a lot, but I just love the way it was done here. So interesting, so emotive, and shocking in parts, and just, I don't know, I loved it.
Yeah, me too. The fire pit scene, it was 100% my favorite part of the episode, was the fire pit scene. Absolutely. Loved it. It was so creative, and I love the set design, and you know, Lonnie Tupu just...
Ah, my boy.
brought me to my knees.
Yeah. Such a good actor.
We will get more Crais.
Yay.
My favorite part, as much as I love the Sacred Realm thing, you know, get your own Sacred Realm, my favorite is John waking up with the Wizard of Oz thing and giving Rigel a big soppy kiss. You said last time, you said, is he going to try and get with everyone? And and I think it was either Ren or Charlie who commented in the spoiler section.
Oh.
He said that you said that right before the episode where John gives Rigel a kiss.
Well done, Jack.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But I mean, it's not like I was reaching for that. It's so like everybody wants to bang everybody.
Yeah. The horny police is coming for this show. Have I told you it's sometimes referred to as One American's Journey Through Sydney's BDSM scene?
Yes. Yes, you did when you were recruiting me for this podcast.
Muppet Sex and Trauma.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in the title.
Yep.
We got all three this episode, too.
We did. And we will get more of them in the future and better done. The next one is going to lean a little bit more into the trauma stuff, so yeah.
I'm excited.
So next episode, as I said, is DNA Mad Scientist, and that will be followed up by They've Got a Secret.
Ooh.
So let you guys kind of ponder if you think you can guess the secret. Everybody and everybody out there too, you know, if you're watching for the first time, or if you're not watching for the first time and you want to give us some wrong answers, let's guess what the secret just might be.
This isn't like Lost, though, where they said the secret will be revealed and they don't reveal it for like 5 seasons, because that would annoy me.
No, we will get some secrets revealed in that episode. And before we say goodbye, do you guys want to tell the folks where they can hear more from us?
Friends, you can find me on Twitter at Lack of Surprise One. That's all one word with a number 1 at the end. You can catch me on my other podcast with my friend Ian Martin from Passion of the Nerd. That is called Podcast of the Nerds. And you can check out my work with Chipperish Media on the Still Pretty and Endless podcasts.
You can come hang out with me over on Instagram at Josh Gosdin, and we'll talk about food and some self-care.
And you can find me at the Costume Codex on YouTube or on Twitter under Bluestock in Sara. And you can find all of us on our Discord. The link to which will be in the show notes and doobly-doo, as always. And also you can find us on Twitter at MuppetSexandT1. Or there is an email address as well, which is muppetsexandtrauma@gmail.com. Just in case you forgot that the name is Muppet Sex and Trauma.
Muppet Sex and Trauma. You!
So, with that, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, friends.
Bye, y'all. Maybe a question that this episode asked is what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Thank you.
Don't hurt me.
I knew I could count on you. I knew I could count on you both.
We love you, buddy.
It was also wondering what love has to do with it.
I want to know what love is.
Has to do with it.
I want you to show me.
What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? Yes, okay, sorry,
we are professional podcasters.
This is the singing episode.
You better leave all this in. So it love but twisted love. So Crais is motivated by what he thinks, is love for his brother.
Love.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry that I ran away. Sometimes
we can be serious. Yes.
Got to run away. And scene.
No.
We can be serious. We can be serious people.
Can we? We can be heroes forever and ever.